Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to DigiTrib. Today we are taking a look at Dawn of War 3. Or actually, I got a chance to take a look at Dawn of War 3 when I was playing the beta that came out on the 21st. And so I decided to capture a bunch of footage and play a bunch of games of it, and so that I could see and get a good feel about what you could expect of the multiplayer. And yeah, let's get right into it. So Dawn of War 3 is the sequel, of course, to Dawn of War 2 and Dawn of War 1, both Warhammer titles that came out earlier in, oh gosh, when did Dawn of War 2 come out? I think like 2010 or something like that, and they kept adding expansions to it. And Dawn of War 1 was actually the first game that introduced me to the Warhammer universe. So that game has a big, special place in my heart. So, Dawn of War 3 is coming out with a lot of expectations and a pretty big shoes to fill. Dawn of War 2 was not as critically recepted as Dawn of War 1 by the community because it stopped focusing on large-scale battles and focused more on small, unit-based tactics, which I didn't necessarily have a problem with, but it definitely didn't have the strong Warhammer feel that we're generally accustomed to with these games. So Dawn of War 3 now looks to change that and bring back the massive scale armies and all the destruction and all the bloodshed that you could have expected from one of these titles. Now, how does it do? It does a pretty good job at it, to be perfectly honest. It definitely captures the scope of Dawn of War, or of Warhammer rather, again, with massive armies slamming into each other constantly, and just these larger-than-life machines that just go to war with each other, and it's really quite impressive to watch. However, with that scale, they did take away some of the graphical fidelity, I guess you could say, and the detail in the units. It feels like the tabletop that has come to life, and that's a good thing. I actually really love that. However, what I don't necessarily love is the fact that they got rid of the panning down camera so you could get right into the thick of the carnage and the bloodshed. They got rid of the sync kills, which, I felt made it feel really authentic and really feel like a battlefield. And there's elements of the game that just don't seem to mesh well. One of the things that I thought that they did great on with Dawn of War 2 was the cover system. And they've now removed the cover system for basically these cover points that you send all your troops into, and they kind of just, open fire on whoever comes close, and the enemy has to either, jump into the shield with you, or they have to break that shield in order to, damage your units. It's okay, but the problem is that it feels like, more than anything, it's just a lot of zerging. Throughout the game, as I was playing it, I found myself just sending in my armies en masse just to kind of slam into each other, and then pray, which one came out on top. I didn't feel like I could really there was no point really in me scattering my units as much, save for the occasional artillery barrage or the ultimates that the enemy team can throw down. I felt like there was no real reason to actually separate my units into different pieces of cover. Since you can't flank your enemy, since you can't do anything like that was introduced in Dawn of War 2, it really just felt like you could just throw these two massive armies together and just pray that yours came out on top. And that's a bit of a shame, because I remember playing Dawn of War 2, I think, is the game that I have more hours clocked into than any other game out there, say for my MMOs and stuff. But I've got 680 hours, or maybe it's even in the 700s now on Steam. And so, I remember playing the hell out of this game and loving all of the tactical elements of it. It felt really different from your standard RTS, and in the same way Dawn of War 1 did as well. But I feel like Dawn of War 2 did a very good job of separating itself from StarCraft by embracing this cover mechanic and making your units level up and get stronger and more accurate as time progressed. That, when you lost these units, it really kind of messed things up. They're trying to keep that in some ways with Dawn of War 2, with the reinforcement system, so your guys are deployed in squads rather than individually. You can still reinforce them. However, there's some things that are oddly missing from the game that feels like it's necessary, considering that this is the kind of gameplay that they're still going for. If they're going for a tactical feel, I feel like the need for for cover just throughout the world is imperative. I feel like that was one of the things that really made it stand out. Another thing that is missing, which I thought was odd, is the fact that they actually got rid of the retreat system. So now your units don't exactly retreat. So instead, you have to just kind of click them to run away from the battlefield, and I mean, it's okay, but it takes away from everything. It takes away from a lot of the game. It takes away from the feeling of, okay, now I gotta have my troops fall back, and then I can send them back in, quickly, and get them back into the battle. And there's a bit of a delay also, I've noticed, in terms of commanding your units. So whenever I'm playing this game, I find myself trying to get them to some kind of position that I want, and I have to click it 5 times, or I have to drag my mouse wheel to select all of them, but then it doesn't select all of them at once, so I have to try it again. And now these are, of course, things that can be, patched in and fixed and, stomped out as minor bugs, but I think that, I don't know, it didn't leave the strongest impression on me. With the massive scale means that your units are relatively smaller. Now, thankfully, they are all aligned on the bottom in these tiny little icons, which I wish that you could organize, right? So, like, if you could maybe take these units and, like, organize them so your builders are on one end and your, like, assault marines are on another, and then they're all kind of scattered, and you can't select all of them on the bottom without holding down shift and selecting each individual one, I've noticed. There is another way. I haven't actually been able to figure that out yet. So there are a few command and like design choices that are a little bit iffy. The base building is back. However, I don't necessarily think that it's really relevant. I did find myself throwing down a few buildings to, push the enemy back. However, there's not really that many buildings to choose from. It's really like a combination of Dawn of War 1 and Dawn of War 2, and I feel like the buildings that were thrown in there were kind of just thrown in as a way to just be like, yeah, we'll shut up the fans who, have been asking for his base building back. So, it sounds like I've been slamming this game a lot. What do I actually like about it now that I've been throwing out all these criticisms? Well, as I said, the sense of scale is back, which is great. So now you have more units on the field than ever before running around slaughtering each other. The persistent corpses are back, which I just love. I think that that's great. And the sound. It sounds amazing. It sounds like Warhammer. I feel like they just pulled a lot of the sounds, of course, out of the other games, and they just, put them back in here. And the sound design sounds heavy. It sounds weighty. The battle chatter is great, and it does a very good job of pulling you into the world. And the graphics, even though I said that they lack detail, they're still good. I feel like I am playing a game where my models have come to life, and that I think is awesome. A lot of people were saying, oh my gosh, what's up with these character models? Why do they look so plasticky? Well, because, it's based off of a plastic tabletop game. I know that I've been doing a lot of comparisons also to StarCraft as well, but that was the game that really, it gave me that kind of feel. Now, of course, I know, fun fact, if you didn't know this, StarCraft was originally supposed to be a Warhammer game, but then there was some falling out with Games Workshop, and it didn't happen, and they ended up making StarCraft. So comparing it to StarCraft is probably not the greatest thing to do, but I can't help but say that that's what I got the feeling of. It felt a lot less like Dawn of War, and it felt a lot more like StarCraft. I feel like those two Dawn of War games did a very good job of solidifying themselves as what they were, right? They might not necessarily have been like esports competitive worthy or anything like that, but what they did have was their own sense of identity. And I have this feeling that Dawn of War 3 has kind of lost that sense. Now, this is just from the multiplayer that I played, because all we got to play was the beta, and the beta is ending today, actually, or if it goes up tomorrow, then it, ended yesterday. However, the actual game comes out on the 27th, so I'm going to be giving that game a look-see, and I can't say I'll probably do a review on it, because you know how terrible I've been on, keeping up with these reviews, but I'm going to try to get better. So, I will be doing more coverage, let's put it that way, of Dawn of War 3. I'll talk about the campaign more in detail when I actually get to play it, and I'll probably even record some multiplayer matches of me and a few of my friends going at it, and then you guys can decide for yourselves what you want. Ultimately, right now, though, I would say that the game it's not bad. It's worth, well, I'll buy it on launch, but would I say that you guys should get it on launch? If you're a diehard Warhammer fan, and you like multiplayer, it's fun, but there's only one game mode for multiplayer. That's a little disappointing. There's one game mode, no deathmatch, no nothing. It's just basically this mix of Heroes of the Storm, or Heroes of the Storm, or any kind of MOBA really, where your enemy has a core and you have to destroy their forts in order to get to their core, and then you blow up their core, and that's the only game mode that there is. And I think that that's a little disappointing. And then there's only 3 races, the Orcs, the Eldar, and the Space Marines, which is also disappointing. I was convinced that there would be, maybe chaos thrown into the mix or something like that in the campaign, but you can only play as these 3 races, which is making me think that they're probably actually not there. So, I'm sure we can expect to have all of our favorite races like the Necrons and the Tyranids and all of them. We better get some Tyranids. I love Tyranids. But I think that we can expect them to come out in later expansion packs as always. But for now, we have to play with these 3 armies. And I don't know. I think that for as long as we've been waiting for this game, I think that my initial impressions of it are a little bit lackluster. I know I said that I was ending the video a minute ago, but more things just came into my head. But I'm just ranting off. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. in the comments below, and if you guys think that Dawn of War 3 is going to be worth a purchase. Did you guys play the beta? Let me know. Let's have a conversation about it. I'm curious what you guys think. Anyway, as always, guys, thanks so much for watching. I will see you all around, and I'm sorry that I've been gone. Hopefully, I can correct this trend for good. Bye, guys.